Hey guys, what's going on? This is the first installment of the T&J Fitness Podcast. My name is John, aka the Supplement Advisor, and those of you who may know me, I review supplements and I have great success. I've recently been partnered up with TNT, and my forte is supplementation, compounds, ingredients, etc., etc. But I also love the bodybuilding aspect and just everything that nutrition and fitness bring toward obtaining and maintaining optimal levels of health and fitness. So I decided that, since locally we don't have too many podcasters, to partner up with TD, who has great insight on bodybuilding, fitness, and nutrition, and he's also a coach. So I'm going to pass it forward to him so he can introduce himself.
Hi guys, you're speaking to Tandan here, Coach Tandan in all my social media. It's Coach Tandan who runs Iron Empire. Yes, I'm a personal trainer and an online coach who's been actually doing bodybuilding for the past 5 years or more. Yes, my personal training though, I've been a personal trainer for about 8 years. Yeah, so I'm looking forward actually to talk about actually fitness, bodybuilding, and so what's next, my bud?
Okay, so since this is the first installment, I think it's important that we run over how 2023 went, because that was one of our topics we did discuss. How was your 2023, Tandan? Can you tell us?
Yeah, 2023, actually, it's been a year, man. I feel like, actually, for everyone, it's been kind of like a roller coaster year. So I would say for me, I've learned a lot in 2023, like business-wise and at the same time fitness-wise. And personally, obviously, I wouldn't leave that side. But to be honest, 2023, I've learned a lot. Especially when it comes to the business, that you can't just think that things are going to go the way you want or it's easy. You have to work hard in order for you to be actually successful when it comes to the business of coaching, like the online of coaching and just the fitness industry as a whole, Yeah. What about you, Mapot? How's actually 2023 has been for you?
Well, bro, that's a very tough question. I mean, 2023 was a very good year and a very bad year. Good year as in the bodybuilding aspect was great. I reached my maximum level when it comes to strength. Bench press was good, all that kind of stuff that I was aiming toward, but obviously toward the latter of the year, things kind of took a turn for the worse. But with that comes growth and experience, and it just goes to show that you never know what's going to happen tomorrow. So, never say never, basically, and never take things for granted. That's probably the best thing I'll say. Never take things for granted.
Definitely, my bud. Definitely.
So I just wanted to clarify with TD. So TD, what were the good aspects and bad aspects of your 2023? What would you change and what would you do different? And how would you take this into your new 2024 being this year?
All right. The one thing that actually for me, I'll say the best thing that I did in 2023 when it comes to actually my coaching and the personal training part is to actually move, because I moved to Devon. Originally from the South Coast, Potchefstroom, Margate, you can call it. So that move for me was the best move, because I left about 2022 at the end of the year. So starting to 2023, that's when I started everything. So to be honest, it was the best move to actually come to Devon, because obviously from a small town to a bigger town. And another thing that I would say on top of that, is that actually moving, not that I expected things to be easier, but they were not easy. I had to learn moving to actually a new gym where it's everything has to actually change, from, for example, paying a cheaper rent to a bigger amount of rent, triple the amount of rent that I was paying. So it's it was kind of challenging, but at the same time, it's actually a great idea. I would never change that. The fact that I actually moved, it was like I said, it's the best move I've ever made in my life to move the side. So yeah, what about your side? What do you think it's the best move or the best thing that has ever happened to you in 2023?
Well, I'll say one of the better things that happened was obviously to continue to get the support from TNT and stuff like that. That's obviously important for my page, just to elaborate and explain to potential consumers and stuff how the products work and why you should be using them. And just in general, I think the better aspects for me were creating my own content, doing my own content, and obviously reaching to brands out abroad like Dark Labs, which are one of the few brands that have always been faithful to me. And obviously that propels me to try and continue to do what I'm doing. And it's been tough because obviously, with that being said, the worst thing that's happened this year was, the quote unquote separation. And that just made me think a lot about my life and think about where I need to change individually myself to be better, to become better, in that be better for her. And that's what I think to me was the biggest learning curve. Is that, as I said, you can't take things for granted, and you just have to look at yourself sometimes and take it as a man and say, you know what, I made the mistake and I need to rectify things no matter how. Because if you really love someone, you make the change. And that's important. You just own up to it, make the change, and then just hope and pray that things come right. And I think that to me was by far the worst part, because you never expect it.
Definitely.
But it's just one of those things, like, honestly, it's tough, extremely tough. Probably tougher than I can ever explain or elaborate. But with that comes growth, with that comes experience, and with growth, you learn new things, and in that you be better. And when you be better, that individual will see that, and then come to it, and that's and that's the thing,
Yes.
All right, so another important aspect we need to talk about is the goals of our page, the TNJ Fitness Podcast. So for me, like, I love listening to podcasts, but obviously I kind of lost the touch, here and there. But I think locally we don't really have any podcasters that are like super influential. I mean, all the great ones are, seem to be in America and stuff like that. So for me, meeting TD has been great because we've obviously had nice fluid conversations. We think very much alike. And, I always get something out of talking to TD, because in life you kind of take, what people say, and you kind of think, you weigh it out, and whatever he's told me has been true. And obviously I appreciate that, because you kind of take what you hear from people and, you kind of form something from that. So with me, it was just natural when he came to me and he was just like, John, what's happening with the podcast? Like, let's do something. And if he didn't come with that step, I would have just completely stepped on it, because I wanted to do something last year. Never happened. But I think the whole goal for this is obviously to expand and to reach not just the South African audience, because the thing is, South Africa needs people that know what they're talking about. So it's not just, lies, it's factual information that people can use. It's experience, it's time. And he's obviously got the experience on his end with his things, and I got the experience on my end with my things. So I think us coming together is a really cool idea, because we're both authentic and we're both real. And I think that's what South Africa needs, and that's what the world needs, basically.
Definitely.
A proper channel. So what would you say on your half, TD?
All right, to be quite honest, Mahmoud, when it comes to things like this, like, we've both actually, like, for me, it's the first time obviously doing the podcast thing. I came to you because I saw you've done this before, and at the same time I listened to podcasts. Like, for example, the last one I listened to, it was JP, the guy from the Hoon Squad, the main guy. So I saw him did a podcast with a guy from Australia, and to be honest, it just kind of motivated me even more as a coach, because he's like the guy that I look up to. So I think this is actually a great idea for people to learn, and actually for us to learn from people, because one, we're gonna get comments about this, so I think it's an amazing idea, and I'm looking forward actually to be doing this for a long time with you, Mahmoud, since we actually kind of get along, especially when it comes to this. But as actually individuals, we actually, like you said, I feel like we kind of get along very well. So I'm looking forward to this moment. Peace.
So another important thing we have to talk about here is our 2024 goals. So obviously I'm basing this not just on last year, but just in general, because obviously last year taught me a lot, and having a lot of time to think, digest information. For me, it's just to continue to work on myself. That's a big aspect that I never really looked at. Everything has just been about my page, which has obviously made me, a bit reserved in general. And I would rely a lot on my page, like when it comes to time consumption on social media. I think number one, it's to cut down time I spend on social media. That's been very important. That's why you guys haven't really seen me online as much or posting as much, just because it's really not necessary. If you want to run a good, honest page, it comes with factual information. And if you're putting that out and your content's good, people will follow on. And that's what I learned over the years. You don't have to spend 3-4 hours editing a post and you get nothing for that. It's a different story. I mean, at the end of the day, this is a business for me. So I would obviously like to expand the page and obviously get probably another sponsor internationally. That would be great, just because you can still fit like your local brand. For me, that's TNT, and you can still fit it with the likes of like the Caged or HR Labs or Doc Labs, just because they're in two different continents, but at the same time that kind of covers the South African market, and that also covers for me the international market. And another thing for me is just to find that balance of happiness, because if you're happy, that makes a massive amount of difference in your life. So for me, the biggest thing of 2023, not just the separation per se from the love of my life, my God-given gift, but it was just also to kind of man up, to face the consequences, because I have to. I understand that I did it, man up, cool, but at the same time to try and get another job, to still stay level-headed, to work a 14-hour shift every day, and to try and be positive. It's very tough. But with that being said, God opens doors, and for me, the further this goes on, the more questions are being answered, and in that, I see growth and purpose. And I think that's important, just to find myself again. And I'm slowly finding it. And I know when I found myself, I found her. So I know this is a long journey and road. But with that being said, I also would love to help this page grow like it deserves for TD and myself, because I think in life, good people deserve good things. And and yeah, I think that's also important. And also from that being said as well, when things are right again with Carl, like for me, I would love to see her compete, because she deserves that. And we're talking about good people deserve good things. She deserves the best things, and that's facts. Because I had to take myself out of the limelight, because I would spend hours in the gym, take photos of myself, not realizing that I'm kind of
have to work as a team.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
And that's what I say. That's the importance of meeting TD, because when we had these discussions before, I would be very reserved and not listen. But when he spoke to me about it and how a team should be, I was listening, because I don't know anything clearly. So that's the importance of allowing good people into your life. Not everyone's out there to be a hater or anything like that. And that's what I had to learn. It's good to surround yourself with good people, so you see where your faults are, and in that you learn, you grow, you prosper. And I know she will see that in time, but it's a long road. But if you love someone, you make the sacrifices, and things work out. So TD, what about yourself? What about your 2024?
All right, so yeah, I'm about going back to 2023 a little bit. When it comes to actually, because I've got goals, and when it comes to goals, we have to actually try to focus on that, because there is a saying from Denzel Washington. It says, goals without dreams are just goals. So to be honest, my goal, like for example, last year, Shannon is my partner. We ran the Iron Empire together. So we had a plan, like for example, on her side, we had for example, we said, I would like to have at least by end of the year, like last year, to have 10 athletes. And then she said she wants to have between 5 and 10 to make sure that we combine that as an Iron Empire team. Successfully, I think we had about 7 athletes that they competed at that time. So going on this year, with the look of what's actually going on under an empire, so to just give you a scoop, we've got about, I think, 8 people that are going to be competing in the next upcoming events. So yeah. All right. Yeah. Another thing that actually I want to actually mention about my goals as a coach this year, I want to grow. First of all, grow in a way that obviously mentally I want to grow, and experience wise. By how am I going to grow? By doing that. One, obviously, I've got things that I'm still going to actually let people know about. First of all, I want to have a pro athlete under my name, which is actually most probably going to be Shannon. She's my athlete. At the same time, she's actually my life partner. So yeah, I want her to actually be a pro. Not that I want, she is going to be a pro this year, because that's the goal. And they always say, you actually, whatever you put out there to the universe, it happens. So that's another thing for me that I believe in. So another thing that I want to mention is that all right, as I was saying, another thing that I wanted to talk about is that actually sometimes life can be difficult in a way that you try hard to make sure that you let people see the good side of you. So mostly people that are close to me, they know that last year I've went through some actually difficult times where I had to be hospitalized. So even though I'm not going to go into details, so I went through some issues when it comes to actually health issues. So yeah, that's one of the things that I want to make sure that I improve on personally. And obviously, that's one thing I want to actually put it out there to people to teach them about anything that they want to know. Like I said, fitness related, bodybuilding, for example, there's life after bodybuilding. What you're supposed to do, how can you actually attack the whole thing of bodybuilding without actually putting yourself in situations where it's like you have to compromise, or you have to actually, after bodybuilding, you're gonna be struggling the rest of your life. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's good.
Yeah, I think that's also an important aspect, is because life after bodybuilding can differ from each person. But that's the thing as well, like how far are you willing to take it? And for most coaches out there, they're willing to put the athletes through everything. So, that's also an important part about this to hear from you, TD, is that, like obviously, one of these coaches that will put the athletes through, all these drugs, and then they end up not competing, they end up like screwed up for life. And that's the experience that I've had in the past as well. It's like, coaches will do anything just so you can compete, but in that you lose your health. And when you lose your health, you basically lose everything.
Obviously, like some coaches, they want to actually put their name into a sport without actually caring about athletes and stuff. So I think for me, it's like one of the things that I would say, I'm going to take it as actually a good lesson to the fact that, I had to go through what I went through, so that, when it comes to my athletes, I know exactly what to put them through, what to actually do for them in order for them to still do bodybuilding, but in a safer way, in a healthier way, in just a good way of actually pursuing the career. Even though, it's like bodybuilding is always going to be bodybuilding, so, but at the end of the day, there is a way of doing it in like that's going to be healthier. You know what I mean?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, from my experience too, the drugs do make a massive difference, but that shouldn't deter you from your actual goals. Like for me personally, obviously I was just overdoing it with the test, and that changes my mind and my mood a lot. And obviously I can't just say, oh, it's from the test that made me like this and this.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, it's a personal choice. No one's forcing the valve down you.
Yes.
It's your choice. But at the same time, I always feel that safety is priority, and it doesn't matter how good the coach. Well, you know what I mean. Like from the offset, a coach might have many successful athletes, but how far are those athletes taking it? That's the question. Like, are they taking like 10 different drugs? Are they coming off a drug cycle properly? Are they running like precautionary things to look after their liver and their kidneys? These are the questions that I'm sure we're going to get asked a lot of. Because as I said, I've worked with some coaches, but I've never worked with a coach when I've been enhanced. And that's the thing. I've only been enhanced for a few years. But, the more I see people's cycles and the more I hear about them, like from guys that compete, I'm just like, damn, that's crazy.
It's a lot.
It's a lot, bro.
Yeah, to be honest, when it comes to actually PEDs, it's like, yes, all the coaches, obviously, I'm not going to say they are bad, good coaches. But you know what I've noticed is that, like a lot of coaches, they like to actually understand the main reason of PEDs, and then obviously, once you compete, what's the goal, what's going to happen, to you as an individual. Because remember, you can run PEDs while you're competing off season, do a PCT, or do all these things. But at the end of the day, it's like when to take these, how to take these, like how much to take. So it's like, to be honest, like there is a bit of a misunderstanding when it comes to that. When it comes to a lot of people, they actually don't understand the whole thing. And you know what? Everyone wants to be a coach. Everyone wants to actually be shining when it comes to bodybuilding. But at the end of the day, they don't understand the consequences that you face as an individual. Like, for example, if I have an athlete that's competing, so I have to go through these things with them and actually know their goals, know what they want, and know actually at the end of the day, what I'm telling them to take, what's going to happen to them in the future. I need to be as honest as possible so that when they go through these things, because you know what, whether you like it or not, if you're on PEDs, you're going to go through phases where it's like, you're going to be grumpy, you're going to go through phases where it's like, for example, when you go on a PCT, like level of your hormones, they get to go through phases where you tend to be grumpy sometimes, or sometimes just like be an aggressive person, like you never know. So that's why I'm saying, the one thing that you should do as a coach is try to understand the whole thing and understand the person and go through with them with this whole PED thing, Yeah.
I think probably about now, a whole bunch of people are considering competing.
Yes.
Like, this is probably when the diet and stuff starts happening. So what are the things that, as a coach, you look for in the next aspiring athlete that wants to be a pro or in their first show, wants to actually do well at the show? What would you suggest to them?
First of all, is like, to be honest, bodybuilding, it's just not for everyone. First of all, you need to be mentally ready when it comes to bodybuilding. Yes, you can have a physique that's like the best physique, great genetics, but if you are not mentally like ready to do this, and to be honest, obviously, like I said, you have to have goals and dreams, you know, but at the end of the day, I have to know and I have to see how much you want this, what do you want, what are you willing to do in order for you to actually reach your goals. Then we meet up there. Obviously, on my side, I'm going to help you through whatever you need. As a coach, I'll provide it to you. I'll give you the attention that you need. But at the first thing first, you need to make that decision for yourself. And secondly, I'm going to make you understand what you're going to go through, the advantages and disadvantages of actually doing bodybuilding, you know? Yeah.
No, 100%. I think that's also the important part, because I remember last year, there was a few times I wanted to compete, but, you know, it's just one of those things, like, how far are you willing to take it?
Yeah.
And for me, I'm always one of these guys where it's like, you go big or go home, all or nothing.
Yes.
But at the same time, if your heart's not truly in it, you kind of know, you're not going to do it.
Like what you did last year. You told me like about 2 times that you want to compete.
I'm sure there's more.
Yeah. Yes, but at the end of the day, it comes down to actually how ready you are. Like,
exactly.
To be honest, in your heart, you need to be, like I said earlier, you need to make sure that this is what you want to do. And you come to me, for example, I'll tell you exactly what you need. And it's kind of like I give people a homework. You know what? You want to be an athlete? You want to join me? This is what I want. I've got like questions that I send to people. Okay, you answer these questions. This is what you want to do. This is what I want from you. Then we take it from there, because at the end of the day, like I said, you can have the genetics, you can have the physique. That's actually like, that's great, you know. But at the end of the day, are you mentally ready to do this? Because to be honest, I'm not trying to actually brag about bodybuilding. Bodybuilding is one of the hardest sports that you can actually think of, if I can be honest with you.
Yeah, of course,
you know. So yeah, that is why I'm saying, you know, it depends on how actually bad you want this mentally, you know. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I don't think people really understand the mental aspect of bodybuilding, because it's not just the start. You know, you get the start, you get the midpoint, and then obviously you get the last 14 days, and that's the 14 days normally the most brutal, especially with the water manipulation and, you know, the food and you decarb and etc. etc. So yeah, you have to really be all in. And I think for me last year, I don't know. I mean, like, I think I see potential, but at the same time, it's like whatever you manifest comes to life. And I wasn't manifesting positivity, because it stems down to the way I would kind of see myself. And not just that, it's like, if you want to compete, you have to surround yourself with good people. Exactly. That's why I know for sure, if Kellen wants to compete, I have to be that person for her, to be strong, to be the head of the house, to be like, listen, you're going to do the show. Here it is here. I'm putting all my focus and time into you. It's like, as I say right now, TD, where I'm at the point where, for me to compete, it's not really a thing. To find happiness and purpose, that's the thing. Yeah. And for me right now, what will make me happiest, obviously, get it back, for sure. Yes. But to see her compete, because this has been a dream for years. Yeah. And as I said, like, I know the potential. It's there. It's been there since I literally first saw her and trained her. And even for her brother, it's there. It's just for not only her, but for him too. To just, if you want to do it, do it. And I know for her, this is a massive goal. And it's a goal that she can do, because, you know, to be vegan and to still look the way she does, yeah, it's really impressive. And as I said, like, I believed in her since day one. Yeah. And she's basically like a product of me, per se, because, you know, if I fail, she fails. If I'm feeling like I need a cheat meal, she also wants something. So So basically, it's like a mirror.
Yes, that's kind of like a teamwork, but in a negative way. You are a team, but you're going on the wrong direction. Exactly. But yeah, to be honest, we all been in situations where you find yourself like actually being like so negative about your life, just because you're associating yourself with the wrong people. I've been there. My partner Shannon, she's been there. Like, hey, I've been there since from like a starting of her career. She wanted to compete even before I competed. But there were people, obviously, that they were like, she's not going to make it. She's not actually made for this. She's not genetically gifted for this and this and that, you know. But at the end of the day, I told her, and she knows that too, that, you know what, it all depends on you, what you want in life at the end of the day. So, and we started actually becoming close friends. And from there, I was motivating her, and then to be honest, even her, because she had a goal, like I said earlier again, dreams without goals are just dreams, So for her, her dream was to compete, to do a show. But I'm sure, like she has mentioned to me, she never saw herself, like, for example, dreaming about competing at the Olympia level. But from there till now, we associated ourselves with the right people. Like, she's at a point where now the only thing she thinks about is to qualify for Pro Card Day. We got to actually the Olympia stage, like even myself on my side, I was at the point where it's like I'm just doing bodybuilding because I would like to do it. I saw my friends doing it like when I was young, so I joined the gym and I was like, this is what I want. But another thing I like about myself is that, I am one of those people that I'm strong mentally, because I've had people that they were like telling me I'm not going to make this. Like, I remember even like I was actually 3 days out for my novice show, and I found out from one of my friends, actually, we were like doing bouncing, so that they were saying that what do I think I am, like, do you think I'm going to make it? I look small, like I've got so many weakness points. And guess what? I went to a novice show coaching myself. I had obviously people, some of them that they were helping me. One of the guys was Sam, So they were helping me in a way that, when it comes to posing, because they've done this before, when it comes to posing this. But when it comes to actually doing everything from the start till the end, I did that myself. I was like, I'm going to do it. Why I want to do it? Because I'm not doing this for anybody. I'm doing it for myself. Guess what? I did that. First show, I won my lineup. I won the overalls. And from there, I shut everyone's mouth. Because you know what? That's what I wanted to do. So, like I said to you, it's all about what you want. And it's all in your mind.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. And also another important fact as well, I've only seen my biggest growth past like 2 years, which is, pretty crazy, because in my mind, like when I was 20, 21, I thought I hit my peak, because that's when things were going good. And then obviously I had the gynecomastia operation, and that's when kind of everything went backwards. So I had like a lot of years where I was just like in purgatory, where I didn't really have goals, ambitions, because I always felt like I wasn't going towards anywhere. And then the past 2 years have been really good. So that also shows that it's never too late. You don't know where your kind of best years will come. And that's what I always tell people, is that, you might not have success maybe when you're 24, 25. Maybe you have success when you're older, but you'll never know that unless you just carry on doing it, because it's never too late in life. And that's important. And that's what I also see when it comes to Callan, is that, normally like people will drop off when they're 30. They will kind of lose motivation. They will stop training as hard. But for us both, it's a continuation, which is important, because you just never know. Obviously, muscle maturity plays a big factor.
Yes.
And yeah.
Which is kind of like you are at your peak now. This is when it comes to bodybuilding, 30 and over, between 30, 35 to 40, that's when you actually mature the most when it comes to the sport, you know, if you think about it. But to be honest, like we said earlier, it's just all about associating yourself with the right people at the end of the day, because if you actually want to do bodybuilding, you're going to lose a lot of friends. You're going to lose a lot of people that like around you, because first of all, you can't be going out doing these things, drinking, doing all these things, So it's like, at the end of the day, you have to associate yourself with the right people. Like now, I'm actually sure and hoping that you, as yourself, you're going to compete too soon, even if it's not this year or next year or end of the year. But at the end of the day, yes, you have, if you want to be an example to actually a lot of people, but most importantly to Callan, you have to make sure that you lead by example. You do things. That's another lesson that I've learned, that you can't just, for example, expect people to look up to you if you are not making an effort, you are not improving. Like, people have the sayings, for example, like I said earlier, JP is good, like they say no plan B, all these things. Guess what? In life, you mustn't expect that, if this doesn't work, I'm going to go this, but to do this and this. But at the end of the day, if you want to do something, give it your 100%. Do it. And guess what? You're going to be successful, because there are people that are up there. Like I said, there are people that I look up to. Again, JP, he's someone that when I competed, he was an athlete competing like me, But because he wanted to be a coach, his goal was clear, He is for me, according to me, is the best coach in the country, which is actually something that I want to be. I want to be the best coach in the country, So that's how it is. You associate yourself with the right people, and at the same time, put your goals out there. Make sure that, you don't hesitate. You go for it. you know? Yeah.
Well, I'll say too, with you saying that, it is obviously, when it comes to the whole lifestyle bodybuilding, it's a tough one because for most people, they're still going to drink, smoke, do that kind of stuff. But then obviously to find someone else who doesn't do those things, it's a rare trait.
Yes.
And, the sport can be selfish, 100%. But then it doesn't mean that it always has to be,
Yes.
There are exceptions. Yes. And I find that, everyone, including myself, will kind of go down that pool to be like, oh, I'm not successful because, bodybuilding, it's, so selfish and this and that. But at the same time, it doesn't mean you have to stop your life.
Yes. The thing is, why I said it's selfish is the fact that, a lot of people, they'll never understand this, especially people that they're not interested in it. One, if you're telling people, hey, you're a bodybuilder, the first thing first, I don't want to do this, steroids, this and this, But at the end of the day, it's not a selfish sport. It's a sport that needs people that to understand you, to actually care about what you do. For example, when it comes to friends, like there's a saying that says, when days are like dark, friends are few. Exactly. So that's what happens in bodybuilding. So when you're going through a phase where, for example, you're on prep, you can't be doing all these things. Yes, obviously you have to have a routine where it's like you do your bodybuilding at the same time. Like I said, there's life after bodybuilding. For example, you wake up every day, you've got a job. For example, you're working as an accountant from 8 to 5. You work your hours. After that, you go to gym. After gym, what do? You come home. You are tired. You want to rest. So you go to rest. You wake up the next thing. But other people, they go to work. They come back from work. What do? They go. They meet up for a beer or whatever it is, or they do some other stuff. But at the end of the day, people that understand you or people that actually care about you, they're gonna support you either way on this. So like I said, bodybuilding, it's kind of selfish, but at the same time, it's not about being selfish, the whole thing. It's about putting yourself first, because one, some people, they're going to think, oh, you're selfish. But at the end of the day, to look at it in a positive way is that you're putting yourself first in a positive way,
Yeah, 100%. And I'll say also another part where you are like, it depends who you surround yourself with, which is a fair point. But then also, you can be your own worst enemy. And that's what obviously I learned from experience. I don't surround myself with a lot of people, but since how can I say, bodybuilding was for so many years, and social media also really gives the illusion of like your body's not a certain way, so you're not good enough. And that's what the issue with social media, I feel, is. And that's obviously what we're going to cover in the future. But I mean, that's also an important part, is to obviously accept yourself, love yourself, and know that anything can happen in 12 weeks, when it comes to prep and stuff. And it's never too late. And that's also an important thing I learned, like through this period too. It's never too late. And you just have to like kind of love yourself, literally. You have to love yourself.
Yes.
And for a lot of people like myself, that's been the hardest thing because, all the years haven't accomplished this or this or this. But then again, the future's so bright. It's what you make of it today that counts.
Yes. Yeah, it's never too late to whatever you want to do, So, yeah. And another thing is, like, to be honest, going back to the goals of 2024, I want to actually make sure that, my athletes, they get the services that, what they're looking for. Because at the end of the day, as a coach, I need to make sure that I am happy myself. So I feel like I'm in that space where it's like, I feel like when it comes to business-wise and actually personally, I am growing and I'm becoming a better person. So obviously that's what I want for my athletes. And it's going to be actually a great year for An Empire. I have a feeling and I know it's going to happen. Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I think it'll be, I know it'll be a great year for all of us. Because as from my point, I think I learned a lot this year. And for me, it's just never giving up, just persevering. And basically you don't have a choice. And I think that's the important part. You can give up, but at the same time, if you don't give up, then, there should be a reward at the end. But yes. That's the most important part. And I think another important part for this whole page is obviously that we try and get the message out, and everyone kind of connects like they should. Because yes. As I said, this is an important podcast, not just for us, but for everyone. Because we talk about real topics which other people won't really cover. And at the end of the day, this is just there to educate and just kind of be a reliable source of information, but also trustworthy and true, where people can relate to us and be like, okay, these guys are cool. And I think that's important because, we both chill guys and we both have like very similar personalities, which I think is important because we know there's just always chatting. There's no, bad blood or anything like that, which is important to running a good and successful podcast for many years.
Yes, definitely.
And then also in future we can get obviously some good guests involved as well, and then obviously put this on video platform, which is obviously stepping stone going forward.
Yes, definitely. It's actually, I'm looking forward, like I said, I'm looking forward to the whole podcast. And another thing is like the goal is to actually, like you said, we're looking forward to actually getting other people involved, like sponsorships, all that, it's things that, because at the end of the day, we are doing this for everyone who wants to actually, for example, who wants to be where we are now, and anybody who wants to actually be successful in whichever way when it comes to actually fitness industry. One, obviously, like I said, it's not all about bodybuilding. There are people that they do just fitness for health purposes, So yes, this whole thing, I'm just looking for the fact that it's going to include everyone, everyone.
100%. Yeah, so I'll say that kind of wraps it up for our first episode, and I think it was a really good one. Conversation was good and flowing, definitely. And the second one, we obviously going to announce what we're going to talk about, but this one was really good. So thanks TD for coming on board, and looking forward to the next one.
Thank you so much, Mabut, for welcoming me, and I'm looking forward to work with you moving forward. Cheers.
Cheers, guys.